Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting collection reflection video where I take the time out to just go through my whole entire gaming library. Could be a game, could be a console, or it could be a limited edition, but today we're going to be talking about none other than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch. Now look, I already have a Mario Kart World review out here on the channel though, and I think enough time has gone and passed where now I can finally kind of give my overall thoughts and reflections on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as it is already, and by extension we'll go ahead and loop in Mario Kart 8 as well, that originally dropped out on the Wii U, because look, this was a game that we've been kind of stuck with for the better part of over a decade. There should have been another Mario Kart game on the Nintendo Switch, which should have been Mario Kart World, as we saw in those developer interviews and stuff. However, you know, that just wasn't working out for them with the tech that's in that console. Hence, that's why we saw it as a launch game for the Nintendo Switch 2. So in today's video, I just want to go through, reminisce the good about Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe by extension, the bad, and then we got to also talk about the ugly though. So stay tuned, because we're going to wrap all of this up into one, because I got some stuff to say about this game. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Mario Kart 8, when that officially made its debut on the Nintendo Wii U, instantly at that given point, I knew that that had to be the game, right? To save the Wii U and actually get this system into more hands. Because when it was all said and done, we know the Wii U sold roughly around 13 million units or whatever though. And yes, that did push the console just a bit, because usually in any kind of given generation, a Mario Kart game is typically one of the highest selling games. Look at the DS, look at the 3DS, the Wii U, the Wii, any one of those different consoles is usually always the highest selling game. So if anything was going to push that up and over the tip of the mountain, that should have been it. But I guess the Wii U already dug its grave too big or whatever though, and I don't know, some of them ads back then, my gosh though. But I remember playing and booting that up for the first time on my Wii U, and that's the one I actually have a physical copy of. I don't have a physical copy of 8 Deluxe because I just felt like I already had it though. But when I booted that thing up in my Wii U, I was like, dang, Mario Kart racing, or just kart racing in general, has never looked this good. I mean, yes, back in that Wii generation when you had, you know, different things with the PlayStation or the Xbox consoles out on the market, those were HD systems. The Wii still wasn't necessarily HD, so Mario Kart Wii was just, you know, running at that standard 480p and such. And then finally being able to play a game up to 1080p, I was like, oh my gosh. I just remember riding around a Mario circuit. I was like, goodness, this game looks freaking incredible though. And then obviously, you know, there was gimmicks and stuff that you had in Mario Kart Wii where they actually managed to add in the bikes, the trick features where you're able to flick that Wii remote up and down though. So we were kind of wondering, well, what are they gonna do for the new gimmick in 8? And it was the whole entire thing with the anti-gravity. Like Mario Kart 7 added you flying in the air as well as diving underwater. They carried that over into 8, but then the anti-gravity stuff, so you were able to, I mean, it was kind of weird because yes, you were technically racing upside down on a lot of the different tracks though, but while you're, you know, in the moment racing, you couldn't necessarily see it unless you went back and saw like replays, or like there was like that one little the replay shop thing, and you can kind of change the camera angles of where you're kind of viewing it from, and then you can actually see yourself, you know, driving up and down and upside down or stuff like that, or kind of look like you're kind of driving up alongside of a wall or whatever though. So yeah, so it was a nice cool little gimmick. As long as you're racing on the anti-gravity segment right there, you're able to like bounce off of other people to get little mini speed boosts, or off a certain kind of, not necessarily projectiles, but certain kind of obstacles. You can just tell that if you were to run up in it, you get a little spinny mini turbo off of it though. So it was a nice little inclusion though. And in terms of all of the courses, yes, you had, you know, 8 different cups. Obviously the 4 brand new cups that included all these different new stages and stuff. And then obviously you had the other 4 cups that had all the retro stages and stuff like that. And that was basically it for the most part though. And you know, there were some cool courses up in there though. I can't even think of like any strong, extremely great favorites that I had up in here though. But there was a good amount of good courses. I don't think any of them was necessarily terrible. Well, except for maybe them desert stages or whatever. I just ain't fan of like desert courses. Like, you know, you can just kind of miss me with that mess though. But yeah, that was it for the most part though. However, Nintendo threw us a little bit of a bone while that game was still on the Wii U, because they even managed to give us some DLC courses of 4 other tracks. And on top of that, even add in more additional racers. Because even when I was looking at the racers that we managed to have in this game, like a lot of them was, you know, all of the Koopalings, and that took up a lot of spots. Like we didn't even have like Diddy Kong up in the game for a good chunk of time, or even Funky Kong, which were staples that we even had in Mario Kart Wii. And I was like, what are we doing over here, Nintendo? But anyway, though, they gave us those 4 DLC courses, including tracks from Animal Crossing and The Legend of Zelda. I was like, what the heck? And then they started including not only those, but obviously their respective characters. So you had like the villager and stuff like that, as well as Link. And I was like, this is getting kind of crazy. I was like, what the actual heck? So yeah, that was cool. So now you took your courses from like 8 different cups up to 12 now. So that was really cool to see that, because that's the first that we've ever managed to have DLC for a Mario Kart game. Usually it's just whatever happens to be out there on that cartridge or that disc or whatever, that's all you had until the next Mario Kart game. So now that we're in the area where they're able to do DLC and stuff like that, we can start to expect this moving from this point into the future. So that was really cool. The only thing I kind of miss that's in 8/8 Deluxe that's not necessarily in Mario Kart World right now is the fact that you had all of those Mii costumes that you were able to get from scanning in different amiibo. Like you can scan in like an F-Zero amiibo and you get like something that looks like a Captain Falcon suit or something like that, or a Mario suit if you scanned in Mario, or a Peach one or stuff like that. Shoot, even like a Pikmin one if you scanned in any one of those Pikmin. It doesn't have to be necessarily a specific kind of Pikmin amiibo, as long as it's within a certain series. Then yes, you were able to typically get those Mii costumes. I do kind of miss that quite a bit. I ain't gonna lie. I wish it was in there, as well as just being able to race as your Mii. Like we've been able to do that on the Wii, on the 3DS, and also I think I was about to say the DS, but yeah, like the Wii and the 3DS, like we were able to do that all the time. Though I'm just kind of surprised, you know, also with an 8, but why we weren't able to do that in Mario Kart World. They could still technically add that, but I don't think they will at this point though. But anyway though, so that was a lot of cool stuff that was included just in regular 8. Then fast forward a little bit, where we finally managed to get into 2017, where they said, hey, we're just gonna take the Mario Kart 8 game that only 13 million of y'all, a little less than that technically, might have bought on the Wii U, and everybody else is going to buy the Switch before they knew it was going to eventually blow up and get well over 150 million units sold. Hey, we're going to go ahead and just port all of this stuff over and add in even more additional stuff. So yeah, so everything from all those 8 plus the 4 DLC courses were there on, or cups, were there on day one. So you have 12 different cups with that many different with that many tracks up in the game. That was like, what, 12 times 4? You're looking at 48 courses. That was crazy. And then on top of that, the battle mode stuck in the original 8. But then when you look at 8 Deluxe, they actually managed to include, obviously, they went back and actually had some dedicated courses for you to be able to do these battle modes. Instead of just racing around on an actual track like the Mario Kart 8 circuit or whatever, though, instead of doing that, you have a dedicated design track for it. I think that's when battle mode shines the most, is when you have dedicated tracks just for it, and you're not just picking something out in the random world or whatever. Because I think even Mario Kart World, with its battle mode, it just takes place in the open realm of any one of those courses you're on. So I'm like, gosh, I wish there was dedicated courses for that game though. But anyway though, not only did they bring that back with traditional balloon battle and stuff like that, they have coin runners up in there, and they added a few more additional modes. You had like that cop runners, where it's like you're either playing the bad cop or the runaways, where it's like, you know, you're running around with some piranha plants trying to capture people in cages, and you're trying to run around and hit these P switches on the ground to release them. So you're just trying to make sure your whole team doesn't get captured, or if you're on the other team, to capture all the people though. I do like that mode. You have the one where it's like you're just chunking nothing but bombs, and you're just trying to blow up people and get the most points. That one's always pretty fun. And my personal favorite Shine Thief, man. Just being able to hold on to that shine and make sure nobody else is able to steal that from you by either throwing an item at you or using a mushroom and ramming into the person and just stealing it right off of them. That's my favorite mode. I love the heck out of that battle mode though. And the most unfortunate thing with Mario Kart World is these modes for battle modes, like the cop runner thing, bomb mode, as well as shine thief, those three are not even present. It's only coin runners as well as just traditional balloon battle. Like, come on, Nintendo, we're in the era of DLC. You gotta add that back, and please, for the love of all things good, add in dedicated stages for the battle modes. That just makes it a lot more competitive and just designed and tailored for that experience. I don't know why we're just out in the open world. I feel like you can abuse it for the better or the worse in some of those case scenarios, but I digress though. But yeah, battle mode was essentially a huge selling point up in this thing, and I can't say how many hours I put up in that with other streamers and stuff like that haven't been streaming the game. That was just some really great fun times though. And for the better part of 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21-ish, and I think it was like shortly after the events of COVID and stuff, that's all we had in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And, you know, at this point, the game was getting a little bit stale, especially for people like me that had a Wii U, that started off playing the game on that, then started playing it on 8 Deluxe. There wasn't a lot of new for us. So a lot of us, you know, outside of just the occasional, someone just wants to hit you up and play this game every now and then, though, you just had that game sitting shelved on that shelf, right? Like, you weren't messing around with it too much, though. However, lo and behold, X amount of years later, and guess what Nintendo happens to do? They happen to manage to go out and say, we're gonna actually include DLC for this game. I was like, oh, you have got to be kidding me. Yes, they did manage to include DLC for this. And how many courses did we manage to get? A whole other a whole nother 8 more dedicated Grand Prix that they were staggering a little bit over time, and they were just giving us 2 cups at a time though. Originally, we started off this game with 12 different cups, and that ultimately allotted to 48 tracks, right? They managed to double that when it was all said and done, and we managed to get, golly, like literally 96 different courses. That is freaking insane. That definitely put a whole new fresh, a whole new coat of fresh paint on this game. And it felt like you were playing a whole nother new game with just the DLC courses alone. Like, that was just wild to even think about. And I really like Nintendo for that though. Like, that was definitely a curveball. And I felt like they were definitely biding time for what would have been Mario Kart World. They just happened to put something out there for us though. So you know what? Props and kudos to Nintendo on that one. I'm like, thank goodness, because we needed something like that just to kind of add a little bit, you know, a little bit of fresh upon this little bit of a stank. Just not bad stank, just stank like as if like we've been going through and eating the same meal over and over and over. This kind of got a little bit of bland or whatever though. And yeah, there were some really cool courses up in that DLC pack. I remember High Five Sunday was cool. That original track, the Calamari Desert from the Nintendo 64, like that's when they started incorporating courses from Mario Kart Tour, which was the mobile game at that time. And I love those because that's when you start having track variations where it's like just the traditional 3 laps around. You might do 1 lap one way, the second lap will be a completely different part of the course, and then the third one will be completely different. And that's something that we managed to see kind of carry over into Mario Kart World, where you have like these grand Prix where you're not just doing just the course itself, but you're traveling to a whole nother place, or doing the knockout tours where everything's completely different all the way from start to finish, and you keep surviving in those races. So yeah, so overall, man, this game, it's a really fun game, whether you started off on Mario Kart 8 or by extension had all of the content available there in 8 Deluxe though. And I just can't believe we were racing on this game for the better part of 10 whole years before we finally managed to get a brand new game in the Mario Kart series though. Like when they gave us Mario Kart World, I'm like, thank goodness I can box this up, I can sit it on my shelf. The next time I'll probably play that will just be with people that just don't own Mario Kart World at that point though, or maybe it'll be another decade from now, and then I can go back and reminisce and see how 8 Deluxe finally is after, you know, putting that game down for X amount of period of time though. But you gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all that you think about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Is this a game that you really love? Was it a game that you kind of got burnt out on, or now you really really excited that now we have Mario Kart World included up in this game. Y'all just gotta let me know within all the comment section down below though. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell, stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing those. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.